Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleep, worried about the way he thinks. Big wheels keep on, proud Mary, and we're rolling on the big Stop being silly. Anyway, I wanted to come on here. I know it's early, and I know y'all typically like to see me do videos later, but I want to do other things with my time later on. So I had not watched a video from Armon yet this year, but I did watch, I can't remember what the full topic, what the topic of the video was, but in the video, he talked about, Jim Jones. And Jim Jones, somebody who I had never really heard of, I had to Google, and, I went to watch the story that his mom shared after the story had came out about him being on the Breakfast. He was on something having to do with the Breakfast Club, one of their platforms. And he said his mama taught him how to kiss. And this went trending. It went viral, people judging, people passing their opinions on the situation. And I want to ask the question today. There's a fine line between hating and keeping it real. So when does it become hating? That's the question today. When does it become hating? When exactly does it become hating? Because I noticed that a lot of gay Black men in particular, and I know this is not true for all gay Black men, but definitely some of the premier voices, every time there's an opportunity to give it to the Black woman or to give it to the melanated moms, the Aborigines, Afro-Indigenous moms of the Americas, y'all don't fail to deliver. And I wrote this in the comment section. Women as a whole got to vote late in this nation. They were which is the reason for women's lib. There's never been a female president who served full term, even though they say Kamala, got a chance to serve for a few minutes while Joe Biden was having his colonoscopy. But there's never been a female president or a cisgender woman who has set the full term presidency in this nation. There's never been a female or a cisgender woman who has been allowed to be the Pope. Cisgender women have not held positions of supreme power in government or in religion in this nation. Let's be clear. And so when we start talking about this Crimea River narrative for these men in a patriarchy, do you want to relinquish some of your power as men? Do you want to make it a shared? Do you want to stop being a lopsided system of oppression? And do you want to share power with womankind? Do you want to share that power? Do you want to share that access? or do you want it to just be a patriarch and you want to sit up and complain about things that women are not doing with all that they don't have? Like, it's amazing. Like, gay men, a lot of you, not all of you, be quick to jump on this bandwagon and how we look past the abuse of women and how women, when this culture, this society is literally set up where men introduce their son to porn at a young age, pass him a beer, take him to get a prostitute. Now, here's this woman who is maneuvering like a man, teaching. I mean, because like dudes pat each other on the butt playing football, basketball. My grandmother used to pat me on the butt when I was little. Like what y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna make her a predator? You gonna make her a predator, a sexual predator? You know, in this counsel me culture, because my grandmother used to pat me on my butt. To set the record straight, the first time that I was ever molested as a child, I was molested by a female. I was molested by a womb bearer, and she processed information differently. That's how, some people would say she was slow, some people would say she was mentally ill, but I just choose to say that she processed information differently. And I think personally we all process information differently, but her capacity was different than mine. And so I think that she basically was just passing on trauma that had been inflicted upon her, because as someone who processed information in the way that she did, I'm sure that people had taken advantage of her. I'm sure that she had been used and abused by probably both sexes. And so she passed that trauma on to me, and so I don't blame her, because we live in a society that is governed by men. And not to sound insensitive to men who are molested by females, not to sound insensitive to you or your plight, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, boo. So you're not going to make things better or change things by ostracizing and condemning women for their part in a system that they're basically just as much the victim of as the one who is being harmed. Like, when you've been harmed your whole life, when you've had harm done to you because you were born with a womb and ovaries and fallopian tubes, or because you resonate more with womankind, because you move in a more feminine lane, you're already subject to certain violence, to certain harassment. That's just built into, that's just that's just what it is. So when women, womb bearers, females, if that's all they've known, what do you think they're going to give to the people that they come into contact with? It's what they're taught. See, when we start talking about what's being passed down and what's being taught, we have to understand that it is men who teach other men. Don't cry. Don't show this weakness. And when you hear females say it, a lot of times they're regurgitating something that they've heard their father say, or they're regurgitating something that the patriarch has taught them, because they have not seen women in positions of power in the church or in government. They have not seen these examples of women who have been able to navigate their own feelings, their own thoughts, and not just regurgitating what has been taught to them from a patriarchal society. They're channeling what has been taught to them through a patriarchal society. Women many times are, older women many times break these boys virgins, because back in the day, you go to a brothel house with a 14-year-old boy and a 13-year-old boy who ready to get his first orgasm, and guess what? These women were prepared to sleep with these young boys. This was a culture when women were property, when women didn't have a right to vote. This has been passed down for generations. So don't just point the gun at the women who are acting upon these things now if you're not willing to play the whole tape. if you're not willing to look at the bigger picture. And a lot of y'all don't want to do that, because if you did, then when you point a finger, you see these pointing right back at you. Like, Armon, your career is literally off of critiquing Black femininity. And you are not a woman. You don't live your life as a woman. You're not interested in women romantically. And you have created a whole career off of critiquing Black femininity. There's a fine line between keeping it real and hating. It's a fine line. And so, when does keeping it real become hating? Because a lot of gay men like to critique Black women, but y'all aren't willing to critique your forefathers, the ones that you've chosen to model yourself after. You're not willing to critique your forefathers for their complicity in all of the things that have happened prior to make this reality what it is. You're not willing to hold your forefathers accountable. But you always somewhere ready to hold a Black woman accountable. You always somewhere ready to call her out on what she's done wrong, how she's missed the mark, how she's failed her children, what she's doing that's inappropriately, but you don't want to play the whole tape. You don't want to go and talk to your pastors who worship in Father God, King Jesus, and saying that Eve was responsible for the fall of man, and Eve did this and that in the garden, and everything is her fault. You don't want to confront your pastor who told you that Delilah was responsible for Samson losing all his strength. You don't want to confront them who have put women in this narrative of the fall guy. Who snatched out all of the books of the Bible that actually edify and celebrate our mothers in a way that would make them carry themselves in a way that would not be. Why do gay men think they can critique femininity in females or dictate what it is when society could turn around and say them being feminine is wrong in its totality? Like a lot of Black gay men in particular, like white gay men do this too, but it doesn't hit as close to home when white gay men do it, because I know how to pay white gay men no mind, because how a white gay man feels about me doesn't affect me at the end of the day. But when someone who looks like me, someone who has access to the same spaces and same circles that I do, has the right to stand up and speak in a way that's demeaning and degrading, and that stuff get pushed through like a law, like it get respected, it get heard, it get validated. And see, this is where I fought a lot of trans women, because trans femmes, y'all are supposed to be the evolution of this feminine male, of this feminine XY. And you didn't become the evolution so that you could support what was done in the past. You became the evolution so that you could bring balance to both sides. And a lot of y'all, you carry those same toxic patriarchal ideologies over with you into your womanhood. And you co-sign the toxic things that our gay brothers and gay counterparts have done to us in decades prior. That's why a lot of you trans girls, you Black trans girls in particular, I don't really do y'all. Y'all can miss me, because you think just like them Black gay men who have critiqued us for decades, critiqued us like overseers for the plantation so that we could be acceptable in the eyes of the oppressor. I'm sitting here in a founding father's wig because I want to make sure y'all watch this video. I want to make sure I reach a certain demographic. So y'all know my favorite hair is the kinky hair. Y'all know what I like to give, honey. But sometimes, girl, you got to meet the people where they're at. And in 2022, I done dealt with my trauma around this hair, around this look. So, I know who I am. I love me, bald head, kinky hair. Like it's in my song, you can't define this coochie. Whether it's kinky hair or with the lace, you gonna know I'm in the place. Don't matter if you try to hate. This mug's been blessed with grace. Period. Kinky hair or with the lace. You gonna know I'm in the place, boo. How? But I think that a lot of the people in our community, a lot of the trans femmes, they were supposed to be the answer to this. They were supposed to be the balance. They were supposed to build the bridges. But a lot of y'all are co-signing the toxic masculinity, the toxic patriarchal scope and perspective that the gay men had. That's why they vibe with y'all. And that is oppressive. That's oppressive. That's overseer tease. A lot of black gay men act as overseers to what femininity is. And why? When a lot of y'all are so ashamed of y'all femininity. Like y'all literally have, because gay, when we first looked at the word gay was not about for black people in my generation. When I came up in the 40s, I'm a 70s baby. I was born in 77. When I came up, gay meant you acted feminine if you was born male, and it meant you acted masculine if you was born female. That's how we determined who was gay. And sometimes that wasn't even the truth. Sometimes males was just feminine, but they were still heterosexual. But how people, they would say things like, he got some sugar in his tank, or his train ain't on the right track, because that was denoting that there was some apparent feminine behavior. There was an apparent connection to your foremothers. You were more so connected to your foremothers than your forefathers. So what gay initially was about was identifying not a sex, because before that it meant happy. But when we started to use gay in our community, it wasn't about who was sleeping with who. It was about how you acted. So before we could use the word trans, that's why now you got trans girls still saying shit like, that's my gay mama. Your gay mama. And the reason why girls say things like that is because 20 years ago, gay was about noticing behaviors that were not supposed to be or not traditionally associated with the anatomy, the sexual anatomy. So it was about, we noticed something different about this person, but let's understand that anatomy, essence, and energy will not always be aligned. We got to get that dated thinking out of our mind, that someone's anatomy, their essence, and their energy are always going to be aligned and congruent, because that's not the truth. It's going to be different. For some people, it doesn't all match up. For some people, you can have this anatomy, this energy, and maneuver in this way. Like, it doesn't always align. So we have to get that thinking out of our head, because that's not how it works out for everybody. But a lot of gay men, gay black men in particular, They were trying to move away from this feminine narrative. Like they did not want to be associated. That's why they would have those parties back in the G that would be like no fats, no films. You remember that? No fats, no films. I done been going into gay clubs, certain clubs, and I wasn't allowed to come in because I hadn't already started my transition. So I couldn't come in. I wasn't allowed in the bathhouses and all of those because I was a little bit too fishy for them. There was no fats, no films. So the gay community, and they're trying to backtrack now. They're trying to backtrack now. They're trying to be diplomatic now, and they're trying to be more inclusive. But we can remember when the gay community was trying to rebrand itself as it was throwing us under the bus, as it was throwing the femmes and the girls up under the bus, honey, so that they could move forward and so that they could excel on the plantation. But now, because they want more power than they already have, they're trying to backtrack and welcome the girls and make space for the girls. Now y'all want to make space for the girls because you see the girls got a platform and the girls got a voice now. So now you trying to backtrack and make space for the girls, but you still want the girls to assimilate into your way of looking at things so that the girls could be like a Trojan horse. And when the girls do get into that place, they're going to carry out the same toxic ideologies and the same worldview that you already had. So it's basically fraudulent. It's basically fraudulent because these girls aren't really doing the work to figure out who they are outside of your scope of womanhood. Because we sit up here and listen to these gay men critique our hair, critique our makeup, critique our body, critique our sound, critique our music, critique how we walk, critique who we date, critique everything about us. And this is the gag. They don't want us. Like, why would I be so concerned about what you think of me when you don't even want it? Like, how is this going to benefit me? And then if I want you to promote me, if I want you to invest coin in me, or if I want you to support my brand, then I have to become an illusion or some fictitious version of myself. Something that fits you more than me, really. Because if we want to take this back to nature, in nature, the male is the one that does all the extra stuff, all that peacocking, to get attention. The woman just sits in who she is. She ain't got to do all that. She don't have to do all that wearing and strutting. That's actually very masculine. This right here is masculine because this is extra. A goddess ain't gotta do all that. She know who her power comes from within. She radiates, she glows, she carry life, whether it's on the physical plane, on the spiritual plane. Because just because I don't have a physical womb does not mean that I don't carry life and birth things. We all have spiritual wombs. We just all don't have physical wombs. And some of us never open our spiritual womb because we're too busy looking at ourselves through the lens of these gay men that don't even want us. You never even tap into your spiritual womb, your spiritual power to create, to foster and nurture. You never even tap into that because you're so busy being an illusion. You're so busy being two-dimensional. You're so busy worrying about your look. You're so busy worrying about your look that you have not done the inner work. You don't know who you are beyond the look. And that's all gay men see a lot of women as a look, is an aesthetic. They don't hear you. They don't hear you because you ain't coming up in there and giving them what they want, so they don't hear you. They don't really hear you. And when they do hear you, a lot of times it's because it's lyrics another gay man wrote for her to say. A lot of times when they do validate your voice, it's because she's saying something another gay man told her to say. And every gay man is not in touch with his femininity, contrary to popular belief, because there's a culture and there's a tribe of gay men who are so uneasy about their femininity, who are so uncomfortable with their femininity, they despise it. That's when you get two men together, like big old bears, like big old, like there's no feminine energy between them, and they just, from me, I just feel like they're just cultivating this toxic bond because ain't now one of y'all in touch with y'all femininity. Both of y'all trying to deny a piece of yourself. And the only type of femininity you want around you is pseudo. Not natural femininity, because natural femininity is not just about submission. It's not just about, being a lady and being seen and not heard. Those are ideals that was taught through a patriarch in order to contain the goddess, in order to contain the divine feminine. That was taught purposely. Interesting point. Is gay a verb or is gay a noun? Is identity or action or both? Yeah, I mean, at one time, gay spoke to a behavior. And that's why a lot of us still use it. That's why a lot of trans girls still use that verbiage. But now gay is supposed to be describing who you sleep with. But if gay is describing who we sleep with, why are so many trans people still claiming gay unless you still see yourself as a man? Like, why are so many trans women still claiming gay unless you see yourself as a man? And if you see yourself as a man, then let that be known and stop trying to cast your opinions on womankind and expect them to be viewed as valid, because you don't even really know who you are. Because a lot of trans people do still see themselves as men. And let's be clear, being a man is a construct. I've said this in other videos. It's a construct which they have carefully crafted. And gay men, not to make them sound like a monolith, but many gay men have the capacity, Black gay men in particular, have the capacity to excel others. A lot of time gay men are, like anything that they set their mind to, they are good achievers. Like, they focus, they get stuff done, they be really focused. But stay in your lane, though. Stay in your lane. And the thing with females and cis women is that we have to understand that cis women are these people, they're their mothers. So we can't expect for cis women to always be able to speak in an unbiased way, even though her gay son might be on some, even though her gay son might be saying some stuff that's toxic, mama's still gonna defend her child. So we can't always expect for Black cis women to come in and really say what needs to be said, because at the end of the day, that's still her child. That still came from her. And so for us, it's our job, because we can be unbiased. That's not my child. That didn't come from out me. No, boo, this is harmful. You need to stop saying this. That's why Black gay men get away with a lot of stuff, because at the end of the day, that's somebody's child. That's some woman's son. And even though he tearing her down, her being a mother, she gonna be compassionate and let him make it. But boo, I don't have to let you make it. I'ma say what she won't say, because she your mama. That's what I was created to do. Period. I'ma say what she won't say. That's all right, baby. I know that's your baby. And guess what? My mama loved me too, even though we beefing right now. But I got a couple of mamas, a man, a woman. But yeah. So the question, because every time we look around, I see gay men always using, a lot of black gay men always coming for black females. And I just want to make that point clear before I end, because I didn't want to talk forever. You know, I ain't giving all that to Armon. But I watched the video, I was triggered, and I wanted to say something on it. Play the whole tape. Like literally play the whole tape. Don't just critique. Like, if we're gonna talk about pedophilia and molestation in the black community, and we're gonna confront, you know, the system that made it possible for all of this to happen, well, let's start holding the church accountable. Let's start holding this one-sided, lopsided system of oppression that allows men to make the bulk of decisions. Let's start holding that system accountable, because we're not going to get accountable cis women, accountable black women, accountable femmes, until we can make that space for them to think for themselves without you telling them everything. And guess what? In that season, it's going to be a period of mistakes. It's going to be some stumbles happening, because this is like, even though I think that she was here first, I think there's a lot of stuff that she's forgotten through the colonization, through the oppression. So it's like, you know, I got to get back on. I got to start off with training wheels. So there's going to be mistakes. You know, this woman admitted, you know, Jim Jones' mother admitted that she was 17 years old when she had her baby. You know, I could see her being in her 30s when she taught him. She probably was smoking weed, having a little drink, having a little worldly idea. Child, this is my baby. This came from me. This is my child. I ain't scared to, you know, kiss my baby. I ain't scared to, you know, show my baby. This is mine. This came from me. You know, I could see that. Not really looking at what she was doing to be something that was vile and disgusting. A lot of us will never understand the connection that a mother has. Like, this lived inside her body. He lived inside of her body. When he was little, she had to wipe his booty hole and wipe his nuts and then wipe his piece. She had to bathe him. Just because he big now and he got testosterone racing through his body and semen in his nutsack, that don't mean she don't still see him as that baby she carried in her belly. So I feel like a lot of times, like, I'm not saying that her methods were methods that I would subscribe to, but I'm saying I don't have the room to judge her. She did what she had with what she knew, and I like the way she shook back from the conversation. She said, look at how my son turned out, though. And let that be the reason. Look at how my son turned out. So, but she did what she had with what she knew, you know, and we celebrate men, you know, doing irresponsible things with their son, and we put that under the trope of the guys that is male bonding. Like, so much toxic stuff happens under the guise of male bonding. Men will be men. Boys will be boys. You know, that's what men do. Really? Really? But y'all hold women to such a high moral standard. And where did this come from? How you holding women to a higher moral standard than the men who run this nation? How you holding females and cis women to a higher moral standard than the people who are in charge, than the people who hold power? Like, a lot of y'all are cowards. Y'all refuse to confront the real issue. You want to be able to have your cake and eat it too. You want to be able to oppress and control the narrative and then turn around and whine when there's collateral damage. When the fruit come in, when the harvest comes in from all that you've done. Women have been treated as sexual prey for centuries, and if you lay down with a dog, ain't you gonna come up with fleas? Ain't these women been laying down with dogs since the beginning of the conception of this nation? Oh, okay. Y'all don't want to have that conversation. Huh? All right, then. Well, I think I've said enough. I'm so silly. They gonna get me. Let me stop. Where's my damn light at? Okay. Oh. Okay. So let's light the candle for the ancestors. And then after I finish lighting this candle for the ancestors, I'm going to do it for me. But I light this candle to guide home the ancestors who have transitioned this realm today and every other day since we've been away from our altars. I light this candle to acknowledge the ancestors who have been recorded in his story and those who were not even acknowledged because they would rather die than live in this matrix, or they've chosen to live off the grid. They've chosen to live on the fringes of society. I light this candle to celebrate them. I light this candle to celebrate those who were us before we were us, before we were Americans, before it was Turtle Island, when we were elements and not even in our physical form. I light this candle to acknowledge past, present, and future, which in my mind is the true Trinity. Ashe, a man, a woman, Leilem, Leila. Dan that I say cool, it keeps spinning and turning in Gani, Yanko, Kalukalo, which means I am a child of God, Goddess. And if I am, you know you are. So let us answer this question in the comment section. Is it keeping it real, or is it just hating?